Hi everyone, this is Janelle Ocloo of Lojo Immigration. So today we're going to be talking about an interesting topic. Today's video is about derived U.S. citizenship. Okay, derived U.S. citizenship. I often hear, on the news or just kind of when I'm out and about, people talking about, how does someone get U.S. citizenship, or I want to be a U.S. citizen? How do people become citizens? Okay, so of course there are people who are born in the United States. Okay, they are born American citizens. There are also people who naturalize to become U.S. citizens. Typically, they go through the immigration process and they get lawful permanent resident status, commonly known as the green card. Okay, they get green cards, and then after they've had green cards for 5 years or 3 years in some cases, they apply to naturalize to become U.S. citizens. Okay, so born U.S. citizens, naturalize and become U.S. citizens. But then there's this other category, which is what we're going to focus on today's video, is people who derive citizenship typically through their parents. Okay, so for example, you might have someone who is born abroad, born in a foreign country, but that person was born to U.S. citizen parents. Okay, that individual has derived citizenship from the parents. Okay, also you may have someone who is here in the United States, or someone who is basically a lawful permanent resident, a kid who's a lawful permanent resident, a kid who has a green card, and then the parents apply to naturalize, because in order to naturalize you need to be at least age 18. Okay, in order to apply to naturalize you need to be at least age 18. So perhaps the parents apply to naturalize, and then this child who is a green card holder may then derive U.S. citizenship from the parents, provided that the child is in the legal and physical custody of the parents and meets other requirements. Okay, so derive citizenship. All right. Now, this is a very tricky area of immigration and nationality law, because we think about, I know a lot of our videos and our focus is on immigration, okay, but the INA, the Immigration and Nationality Act, a good part of the law focuses on nationality. Who is an American citizen, an American national? How does someone become a U.S. citizen? Okay, so it's a very tricky area of law, and something that, I'll just say, if it's something that you have questions about, like, how can I naturalize, or have I derived U.S. citizens? Am I citizenship? Am I a U.S. citizen? Or what about my child? I strongly recommend that you consult with a qualified immigration lawyer, someone who really understands the Immigration and Nationality Act. Certainly here at Lojo Immigration, you can contact us. You can find us on the web, www.lojolaw.com, and schedule a consultation. We'll go over the specifics of your situation, because like I said, there's so many factors. Okay, there's so many factors to see if someone legally qualifies to have derived citizenship. One, it depends on the person's year of birth, because over the years the immigration law, the Immigration and Nationality Act, has changed. Okay, so what was the law that was in place at the time when this individual was born? Also, there are different provisions of the law depending on if someone is born in wedlock or out of wedlock, meaning were the parents married at the time the person was born, or were the parents not married. Okay, different provisions of the law affect that. Also, depending on if someone is a biological child, okay, because oftentimes in order to derive citizenship from the parents, it requires that the individual be a biological child. There are some special provisions in the law for adopted children, but with the adopted children, there are other procedures that have to be gone through for adopted children. Also, with this derived citizenship, generally it does not apply to stepchildren. Okay, so these are all things that you kind of have to look at, because every family and every family situation is different and unique. Okay, so for individuals who do derive U.S. citizenship, it is possible to get what's called a certificate of U.S. Citizenship, because you know, if you've derived citizenship, you want to be able to have that definitive proof that you can show that you are a United States citizen. I know, you know, oftentimes I get questions and consultations, you know, questions from clients. People ask, well, you know, I have a U.S. passport. Isn't that good enough? You know, that proves that I am a United States citizen. Okay, and certainly, you know, a U.S. passport is good evidence, but it's not always definitive. You know, passports expire. Okay, and sometimes even in applying to renew your passport, the U.S. State Department sometimes will ask you for proof of your United States citizenship, and it's not just, oh, well, I used to have a passport, I had a U.S. passport before, so you know, they're going to want actual proof. So that's also another reason why it's a good idea to apply for a certificate of citizenship if you or someone or your child has derived U.S. citizenship. Also, sometimes you know, you'll run into cases where the children, for different reasons, they're applying for different federal programs, and you know, certain programs require citizenship, and you need to be able to show it. Okay, I've also seen, you know, I've been practicing immigration law for a long time, and unfortunately, I've seen some very difficult situations where, you know, you have kids who are maybe born in another country, they've grown up practically all their lives here in the United States, and they have legal status. Okay, we're talking about people who actually have lawful permanent residence. You know, they've gone through the immigration process, but through one thing or another, you know, maybe they get in with the wrong set, the wrong crowd, or something, get into some trouble, arrest record, something like that. One thing leads to another, and they find themselves in deportation proceedings, removal proceedings. And in that case, you know, we've actually found that some of these kids may actually have, at one point or another, become U.S. citizens. You know, either the family didn't know, or yeah. So all of that to say, this is really something, it's important. It's something that, you know, if you have that question about yourself, like, hey, you know, my parents, you know, your parents may have even passed away, but my parents at some time became U.S. citizens. You know, how did that affect me? Did I derive citizenship? If that's ever something that you have a question about, or something for your children, then certainly, you know, I recommend that you investigate that further, you know, get all you know, the facts, and get a full legal analysis about, you know, whether you actually are a United States citizen. I will say this too, you know, simply living in the U.S. or simply being here for a long period of time, you know, is not, or often it's not, because people will ask, oh, what about, you know, these kids with DACA or Dreamers who, you know, they've practically grown up here, they've been here all their lives. Well, no, even for people who derive United States citizenship, you know, you need to have had your, you know, lawful immigration status, okay, your lawful permanent residence, your green card, from which you can derive citizenship. So it's not as if, you know, you just kind of, just by virtue of the fact that you've lived here for a long time and you've gone to school here and you have an American accent or you look American. It's certainly more complicated than that. But all of that to say, you know, definitely seek legal advice about that. And also, you know, a tip too, you apply for the certificate of citizenship on what's called Form N-600. And it's baffling to me, but currently the filing fee for an N-600 is $1,170. It actually costs more to apply for a certificate of citizenship than to apply for the actual application to naturalize, which is quite unusual. You know, for a long time it was a lot less for the children to apply for these certificates of citizenship than for their parents to apply to naturalize. So I'm not sure, why that's happened, but nevertheless, it's still a good investment. Okay. All right. Thanks for watching this video. Leave your comments and questions down below, and I will take a look at them, answer them in an upcoming video. Take care. Bye.